Senate Committee on Transportation will come to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Nichols,
Here.
West, Alvarado. Here. Eckhart. Here. Hancock.
Here.
King, Miles, Parker, Perry.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Quorum is present. Senator Zaffarini. Chair lays out Senate Bill 280. Recognizes Senator Zaffarini.
You're at 280 first. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members, Senate Bill 280 is co-authored by Senator Hall. It relates to the issuance of specialty license plates for members of the military who served in Operation Freedom Sentinel. Basically, it would authorize the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles to issue specialty license plates for persons who served in the United States Armed Services and participated in Operation Freedom Sentinel. It is named the Marine Lance Corporal David Lee Espinosa Act, honoring a Senate District 21 constituent whose heroism was honored by the Texas Senate last session after he was tragically killed in action during Operation Freedom Sentinel in Afghanistan.
Members, any questions? If not, we'll open up for public testimony on Senate Bill 280. We have Annette Quintero with the motor vehicles, if there's any, as a resource, if there's any questions. I'm not showing any other witnesses. If there's no other witnesses, we'll close on Senate Bill 280. We'll close public testimony and leave the bill pending. Senator you've got two. Chair lays out Senate Bill 1741. Recognizes Senator Zaffarini to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members, Senate Bill 1741 relates to the route designation for the issuance of a permit for the movement of oversized and overweight vehicles in Webb County. Mr. Chairman, do you want the long version with highway numbers or the short version?
Short version.
Thank you. Generally, it would grant the City of Laredo permitting authority for overweight and oversized vehicles to travel to and from the Laredo-Columbia Solidarity International Bridge to IH-35 and to connect to the overweight corridor that connects the World Trade Bridge. There is a committee substitute, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hancock sends up committee substitute for Senate Bill 1741. Ask you to explain the difference.
Thank you. The difference between the filed bill and the committee substitute is that the committee substitute connects the bridge by extending an overweight corridor to IH-35.
Any questions, Senator Zaffarini? Do you have a question? Oh, I thought you pushed the button. We'll open it up for public testimony on the committee substitute for Senate Bill 1741. As a resource, we have Jessica Butler, Texas Department of TxDOT. Wishing to testify is Orlando Navarra, City of Laredo. And registering for the bill but not wishing to testify is Don Rodman, Alliance for I-69 Texas. Please state your name for the record.
Yes, sir. Orlando Navarro, Planning Director for the City of Laredo. Honorable Chairman Nichols and members of the committee, I'm here on behalf of the City of Laredo to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1741. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Senator Zaffarini for all her support that she's given the City of Laredo and its residents. This is an important designation that'll be a tool that can be used to help with the traffic, the increased traffic that we have in our great city.
Thank you. Any questions of this witness? Hearing none, anybody else wishing to testify on for or against Senate Bill 1741 of the committee substitute? Hearing none, we'll close public testimony. Leave the bill pending.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, please note 2 bills in 3 minutes.
Senator LaMantia. Chair lays out Senate Bill 1418. Recognizes Senator LaMantia.
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Explain
Chairman.
the bill.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members, for the opportunity to lay out Senate Bill 1418. This bill creates an additional overweight corridor between the Pharr International Bridge and the Port of Harlingen. It also authorizes TxDOT to designate other routes as overweight corridors through their rulemaking process and in consultation with the Port Authority. Previous law established an overweight corridor between the Free Trade International Bridge in Los Indios and the Port of Harlingen using FM 509 and 106. Recent cartel activity on the Mexican side of the Los Indios Bridge has made it unsafe for cargo vehicles to cross at that location. Many truckers now elect to cross the U.S.-Mexico border at the Pharr International Bridge. However, to connect with the port from this bridge, a vehicle must travel on a 13-mile stretch of U.S. 281 that has not been designated as an overweight corridor. The lack of an overweight corridor on this stretch has resulted in a tremendous increase in fines for tractor-trailer drivers and operators doing business with the port. SB 1418 will designate this 13-mile stretch of the highway, US 281, as an overweight corridor. Mr. Chairman, I do have a committee substitute for this bill.
Chair, Senator West sends up committee substitute for Senate Bill 1418. Ask you to explain the difference.
The changes in the committee substitute were the result of input from TxDOT and Cameron County. Since the 13-mile stretch of overweight corridor is essentially split in half by the county line between Cameron and Hidalgo, this new language ensures that each county receives its respective share of corridor fees. Additionally, the committee substitute removes Gateway International Bridge from statute because this bridge is not for commercial use. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, and we do have some from TxDOT available as a resource witness.
All right, members, any questions? I know I was on the TxDOT Commission when we established that original heavyweight corridor down there.
Yes, sir.
Is there no other questions of her? Then we'll open it up for public testimony in Senate Bill 1418, the committee substitute. As a resource, we do have Walker Smith, Port of Harlingen Authority, and registering for or own the bill, Lance Simmons, I guess that's resource, TxDOT. And wishing to testify is Don Rodman?
No, just registering.
No, not wishing to testify, but wishing to be shown for. Is there anyone else like to testify on, for, or against committee substitute for Senate Bill 1418 or the original bill? If not, we'll close public testimony. Leave the bill pending. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Campbell. Chair lays out Senate Bill 540. Recognize Senator Campbell.
Do I hit this button? Oh. I don't have to wait for green. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I have a committee substitute.
Senator West sends up committee substitute for Senate Bill 540. Asks the author to explain the difference.
Thank you so much. This bill allows city and county law enforcement to use the Commercial Motor Vehicle Code in Comal County. The substitute adds that there's an active quarry and it narrows the population from 100 to between 150,000 to 170,000. That's it. I'd like to ask for the bill to go to local, if it's found favor with this committee.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, we do have registering. We'll now open it up for public testimony in Senate Bill 540. Registering only for the bill, not wishing to speak, is Thomas Parkinson for himself. And also not wishing to testify, wanting to be shown for Dana Moore, Texas Trucking Association. Does anyone else like to testify on, for, or against Senate Bill 540 or its committee substitute? If not, we'll close public testimony. Leave the bill pending.
Do you want to do yours or
Let's go ahead and-
Johnson's next?
Let's go ahead and do mine. Well, read this one first.
Chair recognizes Senator Nichols on Senate Bill 2150.
Thank you. The reason I'm going a little bit out of order is because I have to leave here at 8:45 and go to Natural Resources. So it's going to be a little bit unusual today compared to the way we normally run committees. Senate Bill 2145, this is the
2150.
2150. The background on this is there's a General Orrin Ray Cotton Whidden, a sixth-generation Texan, was born in Joaquin, Texas, in 1935 on land his great-grandfather had since the Mexican government transferred it to him in 1834 before the Texas Revolution. Cotton graduated from Joaquin High School in 52, from Stephen F. Austin in 55, and received his draft notice. He is the highest-ranking Army officer to be drafted from Texas. He was inducted in the SFA Alumni Hall of Fame 1988, Whitten ROTC Scholarship at SFA is endowed in his name, and the howitzer fired at SFA home games is Old Cotton in honor of his work. Cotton served 2 tours in Vietnam and many other assignments. He received numerous awards and decorations through his Army career. He was the most honored to wear the Combat Infantry Badge and the Joint Chiefs of Staff Badge and the Army General staff identification. He retired in 1990 after 35 years of active Army service. After retiring, he moved to Lufkin. He passed away in 2016 and is buried in Joaquin. This bill designates the 2-mile portion of U.S. Highway 84 within the city limits of Joaquin as the Lieutenant General O.R. Cotton Whitten Memorial Highway.
Are there any questions of the author of the bill? Public testimony is open. Do we have any witnesses? Does anyone like to testify for or against Senate Bill 2150? Public testimony is closed. Chair now recognizes Senator Nichols on SCR 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On November 2015, 83% of the Texas voters approved the ballot measure known as Proposition 7, which authorized a constitutional amendment for transportation funding. Under the amendment, a portion of the sales tax as well as a portion of the vehicle sales tax and rental taxes were both dedicated. One was $2.5 billion of general revenue. The other on the vehicle sales and rental taxes of about $500 million a year. Both of those funds were restricted to construct, maintain, and acquire right-of-ways for public roads other than tow roads. There are two parts. The first part, the $2.5 billion of net revenue that's transferred each year, had a sunset date of August 31st, 2032. 32 is a critical date. The vehicle sales tax and rental tax portion had a sunset date of August 2029. The concurrent resolution basically extends for 10 years, each of those. What happens, members, and the problem is that sunset date moves closer. We have a 10-year planning document. It's a unified transportation plan that TxDOT goes through. They're working on the new 10-year plan, which will start this summer, but it's for the fiscal year 2024, extending to 2034. As this date of sunset starts falling inside that window, they cannot use planning dollars to develop projects. So you're looking at $3 billion worth of projects per year to start falling off the planning document inside that window if we do not extend it 10 years. The constitutional amendment, as written, allows no other choice than an extension of 10 years or eliminating the sunset date. So what this bill does, it extends both of those for 10 years.
Are there any questions of the author of the bill? Public testimony is now open. We have, I'm just going to go through those that are registered only. We have Steph Jurgens, Texas Realtors, who is for the bill, does not wish to testify. Lance Simmons, PE, does not wish to testify, but did not say as a resource witness only. We have, looks like Jenna Polk. Jenna is for the bill, but does not wish to testify. We have these persons registering only. Jamie Sims, the Real Estate Council of Austin, is for the bill, does not wish to testify. We have Caitlin Murphy, Great Eastern Partnership, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Karen Rove, Advanced Drainage Systems, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Karen Rove, representing Parsons on this one, is for the bill, does not wish to testify. Jerry Hattigan, looks like Hattigan, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Jenna Polk, TAG, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Drew Campbell, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Victor Boyer, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Aline Cardigan, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Alina Cardigan, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Hannah Hepp, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Hannah Hepp, Patagna, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Stephen Albright, AGC of Texas, does not wish to testify. Ann Orion, for the bill, AAA Texas, does not wish to testify. Don Rodman, Alliance for Aztec, Texas, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Scott Stewart, American Council of Engineering Companies, for the bill, does not wish to testify. We have two persons who wish to testify. Don Dixon, please come forward. We're asking Terry Hall to come forward, and we're asking Andrea French to come forward. Let's go ahead and start, Terry.
All right, thank you. My name is Terry Hall. I'm here on behalf of Texas Turf, Texans for Toll-Free Highways, as well as Grassroots America, We the People, a statewide organization instituted in 2009. And we are very enthusiastically supportive of this bill. Unless the legislature acts, as the senator explained, these funds will stop and again renew the call for perhaps toll roads to pay for roads. So we enthusiastically support this resolution. As you could tell from all of the testimony, that Texans like their roads and they want to make sure we have a robust, long-term, sustainable funding stream into the future. Thanks.
Are there any questions of the witness? Thank you very much, Don.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Don Dixon. I'm very much in favor of this bill. It's very important that the TxDOT has the continuity that given by this bill in order to be more efficient. We certainly need the roads and having these funds available so that they can plan and we can get the roads that Texas needs. That's the reason I'm for it. Be happy to ask any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Andrea?
Good morning. Andrea French, Chair-elect for the Transportation Advocates of Texas, today in favor of Senate Concurrent Resolution 2 for all of the reasons mentioned already. In addition, just that our Texans voted so passionately at over 80% for Proposition 7, and so it's a resounding yes that they want the dependable and reliable funding that this provides. So TEAT is for. Thank you.
Thank you for your succinct testimony. Are there any questions? We have one other person, J.D. Hill, is for the bill, Texas Association of Builders. Does anyone else like to testify for or against SCR2? Hearing none, public testimony is closed.
Let's go into the vote.
You want to vote?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is the next sheet.
You know, do both of them. Senator Nichols now moves that SB 2150 be reported back to the full Senate with a recommendation that do pass and be printed. Clerk will call the roll.
Nichols.
Aye.
West.
Aye.
Alvarado. Eckhart. Hancock. King. Miles. Parker. Perry. 8 ayes, no nays.
There being 8 ayes. You want to take the local or take the
I'll take it to the floor.
There being 8 ayes and no nays, Senate Bill 2150 will be reported back to the full Senate with a recommendation that it be passed and be printed. Senator Nichols now moves that SCR2 be reported. SCR2 be reported to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass and be printed. Clerk, call the roll.
Nichols.
Aye.
West.
Aye.
Alvarado. Eckhart. Hancock. King. Miles. Parker. Perry. 8 ayes, no nays.
There being 8 ayes and no nays, Senate Concurrent Resolution 2 will be reported back to the full Senate with a recommendation that it do pass and be printed.
Did we send the cotton one to the,
We need to
oh,
send
the memorial one, but I do want to send to the floor, which was to the local. The 2150,
Is there any objections to sending Senate Bill 2150 to the local non-contested? Hearing none, so ordered.
that's a memorial. Thank you. Okay, while we're still up and we've got the super quorum right here, we're going to go ahead and try to vote the ones out we just heard. Chair lays out as a matter of pending business Senate Bill 280 by Senator Zaffarini. Senator West moves that Senate Bill 280 be reported to the Senate with a recommendation to do pass and be printed. Clerk, call the roll.
Nichols.
Aye.
West.
Aye.
Alvarado. Eckhart. Hancock. King. Miles. Parker. Perry. 8 ayes, no nays.
Being 8 ayes, no nays, Senate Bill 280 is reported favorably to the Senate. Senator West moves that Senate Bill 280 be recommended for local uncontested calendar. Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Chair lays out as a matter of pending business Senate Bill 540 by Senator Campbell and his proposed committee substitute sent up earlier. Senator West moves adoption of the committee substitute. Is there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Senator West moves that Senate Bill 540 do not pass per committee substitute, adopted in lieu thereof, do pass, be printed. Clerk call the roll.
Nichols?
Aye.
West?
Aye.
Alvarado? Eckhart?
Aye.
Hancock? King?
Aye.
Miles? Parker?
Aye.
Perry?
Aye.
8 ayes, no nays.
Being 8 ayes, no nays, committee substitute, Senate Bill 540 is reported favorably to full Senate. Senator West moves Senate Bill Committee substitute for Senate Bill 540 be recommended for the local uncontested calendar. Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Chair lays out as a matter of pending business Senate Bill 1418 by Senator LaMantia and his proposed committee substitute sent up earlier. Senator West moves adoption of the committee substitute. Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Senator West moves that Senate Bill 1418 do not pass, but committee substitute, adopt in lieu thereof, do pass, be printed. Clerk call the roll.
Nichols?
Aye.
West?
Aye.
Alvarado?
Aye.
Eckhart?
Aye.
Hancock?
Aye.
King?
Aye.
Miles? Parker?
Aye.
Perry?
Aye.
8 ayes, no nays.
There being 8 ayes, no nays, committee substitute for Senate Bill 1480 is reported favorably for committee. Senator West moves committee substitute for 1418 be recommended local uncontested calendars. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. This is the last Zaffarini's bill. The chair lays out as a matter of pending business Senate Bill 1741 by Senator Zaffarini as proposed committee substitute. Senator West moves adoption of committee substitute. Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Senator West moves Senate Bill 1714 do not pass, but committee substitute adopted in lieu thereof do pass, be printed. Clerk call the roll.
Nichols?
Aye.
West?
Aye.
Alvarado? Eckhart?
Aye.
Hancock?
Aye.
King?
Aye.
Miles? Parker?
Aye.
Perry?
Aye.
8 ayes, no nays.
Being 8 ayes, no nays, committee substitute for 1741 is reported favorably full committee. Senator West moves committee substitute, Senate Bill 1741 be recommended local uncontested calendar. Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered.
Do you want to do the pending?
We've got 3 pending bills, members. Somebody have this committee substitute?
Yes, Senator Eckhart does.
Chair lays out as a matter of pending business, Senate Bill 261 by Senator Springer. It was laid out at a previous hearing. Senator Eckhart sends up the committee substitute for Senate Bill 261. Recognizes Senator Eckhart. Explain the difference.
Thank you, Chairman Nichols and committee members. Senate Bill 261, as introduced, repeals Section 731.001A3 Transportation Code and strikes the definition of an assembled trailer from Chapter 731 of the Transportation Code. The substitute also strikes the definition of assembled trailers from Chapter 731, but additionally, the substitute defines assembled trailer for the purposes of the bill in Chapters 501 and 502. This addition ensures legislative intent per the request of the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles.
Are there any questions? Okay. Senator Eckhart moves adoption of the committee substitute. Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Senator Eckhart moves that Senate Bill 261 do not pass, but the committee substitute adopted in lieu thereof do pass, be printed. Clerk call the roll.
Nichols?
Aye.
West?
Aye.
Alvarado? Eckhart?
Aye.
Hancock?
Aye.
King?
Aye.
Miles? Parker?
Aye.
Perry?
Aye.
8 ayes, no nays.
There being 8 ayes, no nays, committee substitute for Senate Bill 261 is reported favorably full Senate.
Do you want to send it to local?
Local. Senator Eckhart moves that committee substitute for Senate Bill 261 be recommended for local uncontested calendar. Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered.
I think we should be okay because we might want to
Okay.
pause.
I'd like to bring up for vote Senator Hall's bill, Senate Bill 684. I think you've got just about everybody here you're going to get here. So I'm just going to call the vote and see how it goes. Chair lays out as a matter of pending business Senate Bill 684 by Senator Hall's proposed committee substitute. Who would like to move adoption of the committee substitute? Senator Perry moves adoption of the committee substitute. Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Senator Perry moves that the Senate Bill 684 do not pass, but the committee substitute adopted in lieu thereof be passed and printed. Clerk call the roll.
Nichols?
Aye.
West?
No.
Alvarado?
No.
Eckhart?
No.
Hancock? King?
Senator King.
Miles, Parker,
Yes.
Perry.
What?
Three ayes and 5 nays.
3 ayes, 5 nays. It goes down in flames. Okay.
Let's inspect that again.
Do what?
Wait 5 years.
Wait a few years. Okay, we actually voted out of the Senate a couple of years ago. Okay, this is we voted on this before. This is Senate Bill 1260 by Senator Creighton. It's a fairly, and there was some confusion. Senator Alvarado voted no, and then later changed her vote to yes. And so what I'd like to do, and since there was some confusion, bring it back up for a vote. So members, I guess, Senator West moves to reconsider the vote by which the committee substitute for Senate Bill 1260 reported to the full Senate during the March 22nd committee hearing. Is there any objection? Hearing none. The committee substitute for Senate Bill 1260 is before the committee. The substitute was adopted during the March 22 hearing. Senator West moves that Senate Bill 1260 do not pass, but the committee substitute adopted in lieu thereof do pass and be printed. Clerk, call the row.
Nichols,
Aye.
West,
Aye.
Alvarado, Eckhart,
Aye.
Hancock, King,
Aye.
Miles, Parker,
Aye.
Perry. 8 ayes, no nays.
Being 8 ayes, no nays, committee substitute for 1260 is reported favor of the full Senate. Senator West moves that the committee substitute for Senate Bill 1260 be recommended local and contested calendar. Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay, thank you all, members. That's, what is this?
Our next bill. The next bill we're going to lay out.
Okay, Chair lays out Senate Bill 1413. Recognizes Senator Johnson. Explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Every day we drive to work and other places, there are wrecks on the road. They slow us down, but they also lead to damage, injury, and death. One of the problems is that only law enforcement and transit authorities are authorized to remove wreckage and personal property from roadways. Fire departments are not. This bill changes that, authorizes fire departments to remove wreckage from the roadway. Every year we have hundreds of first responders, police, fire, and others die or suffer serious injury, as they tend to be the first ones to accidents while they're working to clear the roadways. Current state law, as I mentioned, allows only the law enforcement and transit authorities. We will change that. A couple stats on this, if you're wondering whether it's really necessary. For every minute that a single traffic lane is closed, we lose 4 minutes of traffic, or 4 more minutes of traffic are added. 2012 to 2017, 9 fire trucks were struck by cars while waiting for a wrecker and taken out of service, causing $2 million in damage. 2015, 3 Irving firefighters were seriously hurt while they were waiting for vehicles to be moved off the roadway. In 2020, a Lubbock firefighter and police officer were killed while waiting on the runway. 2020, an Irving firefighter was seriously injured. The only issue with this is whether or not the firefighters would have the authority to remove personal property and whether or not that would interfere with law enforcement efforts if the firefighters were there and disturbed a crime scene. While generally we would trust judgment, we do have a very fresh committee sub straight from the building this morning that addresses that concern.
Okay, there is a committee substitute. Senator Witt sends up a committee substitute for Senate Bill 1413. Asks you to explain the difference.
Thank you. The difference between the original bill is filed and the committee substitute is paragraph F, which you see in the committee substitute, requiring that the governing body of a political subdivision that has a fire department shall develop and implement a policy requiring the fire department to consult with all applicable law enforcement agencies before removing personal property from the roadway or a right-of-way. And that's just to make sure that in their efforts to clear the roadway, the firefighters do not disturb the crime scene and law enforcement has control over that aspect of the incident.
Okay, any questions?
Yes, sir.
Senator Eckhart.
And we do have a witness here, but please.
I'm totally, I'm for this bill, and particularly with the inclusion of paragraph F. I am wondering where it says all law enforcement agencies, there are some portions of the state that will have up to 11 law enforcement agencies with jurisdiction. So will we be assuming that municipalities can identify a single law enforcement agency or a single dispatch?
Yeah, what I would anticipate is when we have incidences at all applicable law enforcement agencies, if there is overlapping jurisdiction, I would expect the governing political subdivision to address that in advance. It's a good point, and if we need to refine the language further between now and the floor, we will. But the intention is simply to make sure that the law enforcement authority who has jurisdiction over that incident is consulted prior.
That would be great. So maybe we can tweak it to primary
Very good.
jurisdiction or something like that, because all may get us
I'd appreciate that helpful change.
hauled up.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll open it up for public testimony on Senate Bill 1413 and the committee substitute. I've got a couple of people. Oral testimony is Brian Becker, Irving Professional Firefighters. Please come up. While he's coming up, registering for the bill but not wishing to testify is Bree Franco, City of Austin. For the bill, Heidi Ruiz, Houston Police Department. For the bill, Alexa Aragonis, City of Houston, Mayor's Office. Please state your name for the record
Brian Becker.
and go ahead and testify.
Thank you all for having me here this morning. I'll just keep it pretty short and sweet. I think Senator Johnson kind of hit all the high points on there. So I'm a lieutenant with the fire department, vice president for the Irving Firefighter Association. Like he said, we've had several people hit on the highways over the last several years. It's just safer if we can get off the roadway for everybody, for fire, police, citizens, people passing through. Like I said, he pretty much hit everything I was going to bring up, so I'm available for any questions if y'all have it, and I thank you for your time.
All right, any questions? Senator Eckhart.
To that same question, would you see issues with the bill if it were consult with primary law enforcement agency before removing? All applicable law enforcement agencies may be.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. And like Senator Johnson was saying, the intent here is we just want to make sure we're not interfering with any sort of investigation.
Absolutely.
So however we can make the language work where fire's happy with it, police happy with it, everybody's safe, we're good with that.
Thanks. I'd love to work with y'all on it. And if it's not a problem, great. We'll leave it as it is. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Anyone else like to testify on for or against committee substitute, Senate Bill 1413 or the original bill? If not, we'll close public testimony. Leave the bill pending. Senator Menendez.
You ready to go?
Chair lays out Senate Bill 446 and recognizes Senator Menendez to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, as you all know, in 2019, this legislature outlawed red light cameras. However, if a local government had enacted an ordinance to implement a photographic traffic signal system before May 7th of 2019, the local authority would be able to continue operating that system until it expires. The issue at hand is that a few local governments who still have these contracts, and our research says it's about 3 little cities, some of them want to get out of them and are unable to, as terminating these contracts would cost them a large portion of their small city budgets. For example, the city of Leon Valley in my district attempted to end their contract with Vera Mobility. However, it would cost them a very large portion of their city budget. This bill simply would render all photographic traffic signal systems contracts void. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for hearing this bill, and members, happy to take any questions if you have any.
All right, members, any questions? Senator Menendez, Senator West?
Senator,
Yes, Chairman.
this is a contract that's been entered into by the government. And
Yes.
The question is, do we have the constitutional authority to void these contracts?
You know, that question was brought up when we were making these red light cameras outlawed. So I'm not here to interpret the bill as unconstitutional, especially considering the fact that the bill outlawing the red light cameras in the first place, House Bill 1631, was passed on the basis that they were unconstitutional and they violated due process. So you may be right, you may not. I think furthermore, the very few cities that still have these, no one's obligated to pay them, but unfortunately about half of the people who receive them are. And you know, we've had other legislation that sometimes people have asked whether they're constitutional or not. This is just something that was brought to me by city council members of the city of Leon Valley, and we're trying to help.
No, but don't get me wrong. I'm with you.
Yeah.
On it, but I'm concerned as to whether or not this is constitutional.
I appreciate.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Let me finish.
Yes, sir.
I'm concerned as to whether or not we have the power to void a contract. That's my concern.
I understand.
I mean, from a legal standpoint, I've always thought we didn't have the authority to void a legal contract. That's why we allow them to go through the process, and then ultimately, when they terminate, it's over with.
Understand completely.
That's my
I appreciate your concern. At this moment, I'm here presenting a piece of legislation on behalf of my constituents,
Gotcha.
and I appreciate it.
All right.
I do know that some of those contracts have a force majeure clause in there, and if the legislature takes an action, a lot of interpretation has been that that is force majeure.
Yeah. I know a lot of people in this building consider themselves God, so yeah, that would make sense.
Is there any other questions of Senator Menendez? If not, we'll open it up for public testimony on Senate Bill 446. I do have a number of witnesses wishing to come up. Craig Enoch, Vera Mobility, please come up. Terry Hall, please come up. Evan Bowl, citizen of Leon Valley. And Rick Briscoe, representing himself. Rick? Okay, and I'll just read these cards into the record. Registering, not wishing to testify, is Don Dixon, for the bill. Thomas Parkinson, against the bill, representing himself. John Creel, City of Humble, for the bill, not wishing to testify. So please, Terry, go ahead, go first.
Again, my name's Terry Hall with Texans United for Reform and Freedom, Texans for Toll-Free Highways, and today also representing Texas Campaign for Liberty, as well as Grassroots America, We the People. And we are all heartily in favor of this bill. We feel that the first round of these cameras are truly unconstitutional. We want to see an end to the program, and I do believe our understanding is exactly what Chairman Nichols was articulating, that there's a clause in these contracts that say if there's an adverse action taken by the legislature, that it will remove that contract from being, it would just render it null and void on this. So we are very in favor of the bill and heartily support it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Evan Bull. I'm here on behalf of the citizens of Leon Valley. And what you're receiving is a letter with some facts that I believe the City Council of Leon Valley may have intentionally misled our representative and senator in this matter, or simply omitted in their pursuit of this bill, as they were part of the creation of this bill and its House companion. In question about constitutionality of the bill before you, or even the whole idea of the program, in Leon Valley currently, less than 10% of the would-be infractions are even cited, and less than that are even enforced or paid for. A lot of those tickets do get dismissed upon calling our police department and going through the process. People have a due process in that they have every right to be involved through this process like any other situation when it comes to being cited for an infraction on the roads. Right now, Leon Valley faces a problem with its funding. As Senator Menendez stated, trying to get out of the contract would cost a better part of our budget, but also voiding this contract and what it would do is remove funding for not just the 6.6 positions in our police department, but also put at risk another half dozen or more positions that are tied to the percentage of the allocation of funds. We have a traffic crisis in Leon Valley. The Texas Department of Transportation keeps records of how safe, effective, and how commitment to safety that the programs have provided over the past few years, and we ask that you not pass this bill. Thank you.
Do not pass this bill, okay? Please, sir, testify. State your name for the
Thank you,
record.
Mr. Chairman and members. I am Rick Briscoe, testifying on my own behalf. I am a resident of San Antonio and frequently travel to both Leon Valley and another small city that also has similar laws. I followed the original bill that ended the practice of these cash machines, most of which goes to the vendor, not even the city. And it was decided at the last minute to leave these out to pass the bill because of time requirements. These sorts of affairs represent an actual traffic hazard because knowing that there's a camera there, people more often than not floor it to try and make it through. There are due process concerns. And as to Senator West's question, I am not an attorney. This is just my own opinion. But history tells us that legislatures have a practice of declaring certain acts or contracts void as against public policy. I think this is one such instance. With that, I'll simply say that we need to bring an end to this. It's best for the people. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. Any questions? Mr. Enoch?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, it's my honor to be here to talk to you. I'm here on behalf of Vera Mobility, and I'm here in
State your name.
Craig Enoch.
Okay.
And sorry, and in opposition to Senate Bill 446. It is kind of unusual that you have two former justices on the Supreme Court writing to the committee about a particular bill being considered an unconstitutional exercise of legislative power. But I wanted to also engage you in the discussion about retroactivity of a statute. The Texas Constitution actually is stronger than the U.S. Constitution on the primacy of contracts. Not only does the state accept the 100-year-old doctrine that contracts are essential to ordered liberty, but Texas, in its constitution, says retroactive statutes will not be enacted by a legislature. I appreciate the discussion about whether the last statute was constitutional or this statute wouldn't be constitutional, but we have to look at it as of today. 4 sessions ago, this legislature, I think quite appropriately, determined that the public will was against the posting of red light cameras. It did grandfather those that had existing contracts. Why? Because of the strong constitutional provision supporting contracts. This year, if this is passed, it doesn't simply void a contract, it acts retroactively. A void contract is a contract that never existed. A void contract is a contract that has no operative effect. It will affect existing contracts. As Justice Heck has written most recently in the court, he says a retroactive law is not permissible merely because it seems to justify the ends. And this is what will happen. These are contracts. They will expire. They don't need to be renewed. The court needs not weigh in on this contested issue.
All right. Thank you, sir. Also, I will say that I know I was here during session a few sessions ago and got a ticket for running a red light in Dallas. I called them and said, well, I was here. I can prove I was here. I'm on camera. They said, well, who was driving your car? I wasn't about to rat on my wife, so wasn't fair. Not fair.
Sounds like you needed a good attorney.
Okay, thank you all very much for being here. I've got 2 other people that want to be shown registering but not wish to testify. For the bill is Fran Rhodes, Texas True Project, or True Texas Project, and for the bill is Natalie Ray Ibb, Texas True Project himself. Anyone else here testify on for or against Senate Bill 446? If not, we'll close public testimony. Leave the bill pending. Okay, I'm fixing to have to leave.
Okay. All right, I'll take it. And then I'm going to leave with something else.
Yeah, when Hancock gets back.
Okay.
Most unusual, I have to leave and
You're going to have to leave also.
Hancock City coming back.
Well, they're voting bills right now. I just canceled their check. He'll be back.
Oh, so
Okay, we'll work.
they're
We'll
voting
work.
at this moment?
Yes.
All right, well then,
So I'm gonna hand this to Celeste.
We don't have that many more to go, so. All right. Chair recognizes Senator Eckhart on Senate Bill 1182.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair West. And committee members, I appreciate the opportunity to lay out Senate Bill 1182. There are more than 22 million registered, sorry, Mike. There are more than 22 million registered vehicles in Texas, a number that grows each year as more people move to the state. However, interested parties have held that the current transportation code contains a number of irregularities, contradictions, and outdated provisions that need to be revised in order to better serve our constituents. Senate Bill 1182 is therefore pretty much a cleanup bill. For instance, number one, a number of state agencies have changed their names, but the code was never updated to reflect those changes. Number two, there are a number of specialty license plates that, when established, were meant to be exempt from a plate fee, but the exempting language was unclear or a conflict in law was not properly addressed. And three, the license plate display requirements for temporary permits and certain farm vehicles are unclear. So Senate Bill 1182 addresses these issues by clarifying these contradictions and ambiguities without burdening the DMV with new duties. Many of the proposed revisions conform to the DMV's current titling, registration, and licensing practices. It just codifies those practices. Members, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I also believe we have representatives from the Department of Motor Vehicles to answer questions as well.
Are there any questions of the bill author? Hearing none, Chair now opens public testimony. We have one resource witness, Clint Thompson from the Texas DMV. Are there any questions of the resource witness? Hearing none, is there anyone else who'd like to testify for or against Senate Bill 1182? Public testimony is closed. The bill will be left pending. At this time, we call up Senate Bill 702 by Senator Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Currently, license plates have the number printed on the plate. Historically, license plates were stamped and the plate numbers were raised. This is called having an embossed plate. Texas transitioned away from embossed plates years ago, but classic car collectors were extremely disappointed when the state discontinued making embossed plates. 702 simply allows car owners to be able to purchase embossed license plates if they choose to do so. Nothing in this bill requires an owner to purchase an embossed plate. Specifically, since 2005, there has been a state-approved vendor for over 20 years that does the embossed plates if Senate Bill 702 is. It is an RFP that's been let for over 20 years. The same person is getting it. We have to approve the fact that they can do an embossed plate for vintage cars. Currently, if you have a vintage car and want an embossed plate, you have to go back to that year, find a vintage plate that's in existence from Amazon, pay a premium for it to match up the year the car was done. This just allows the current vendor that does the license plate for specialty plates in Texas to do an embossed plate.
Are there any questions of the witness, of the author of the bill? Public testimony is now open. We have Annette Quintanito, Texas Department of Motor Vehicles as a resource. Stephen Farrer, will you please come down, Stephen? And no, does not wish to testify. Okay, has written testimony on. And we have Thomas Parkinson, who's for the bill, but does not wish to testify. You do or do not wish to testify?
I do wish to testify.
You do wish to testify?
Sorry.
Okay, get marked. Okay, written testimony. Okay, please, go ahead. State your name and who you represent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is, for the record, my name is Stephen Farrer, the CEO and president of a company called MyPlates. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of SB 702. As I've said, my name is Stephen Farrer. I'm the CEO and president of License Plates of Texas. MyPlates is the official state partner, contracted to design, market and sell specialty license plates, contracted by the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles and with oversight by the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles to run this contract. The MyPlates program was officially launched in November 2009 And since that time, we've sold over 750,000 specialty license plates benefiting numerous charities, organisations, universities, etc. along the way. In doing so, we've also generated over $150 million. That's $150 million to the General Revenue Fund without cost to the state. That's after 13 years. MyPlates offers over 500 specialty plates. On the MyPlates website within the program, we are the one-stop shop for all specialty plates in the state of Texas. We offer qualifying plates as well as military and veterans plates as well on the site. We are proud of our partnership with the state and the success we've achieved on behalf of the plate partners we represent. Our commitment to the state requires we grow the program and generate revenue and meet financial goals and targets. One of the ways we can do this is by offering new and engaging products to the marketplace, like embossed plates. The goal of SB 702 is to allow the program an opportunity to offer a limited selection of embossed plates, stamped raised letters, and I've got an example of a plate from 2009, a plate that was my first Texas license plate when I came to this great state of Texas. Due to the...
Sir, you need to wind up your testimony.
Oh.
You can finish that last.
Thank you. Again, we support this bill, and thank you for your time and attention. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may
Mr.
have
Chair.
at this time.
Real quick, so there's been a lot of misinformation out there regarding the cost of an embossed plate. First of all, DMV has to approve the cost, correct?
That is correct.
And it's under state specifications, correct?
Under all state specifications, safety standards for a license plate.
And an embossed plate is no different than some of the specialty plate requests we've heard today, correct?
Correct.
And it adds about $20-25 to a plate on average, so about $75 is the cost to a specialty plate, but yet no one's forced to buy a specialty plate.
That would be the estimation, yes.
So, but you've been an approved RFP provided vendors since 2009 or 2005.
That's correct.
All right, so if we did a specialty plate for any purpose, it would always run through you.
We are contracted by the state to
All
do
right,
that, yes.
Thank you, sir. So no new vendors, just basically letting you do more work for the state.
Correct.
State participates in the revenue sharing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions of the witness? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to testify for or against Senate Bill 702? Public testimony is closed. Bill will be left pending. The chair now recognizes Senator Perry on Senate Bill 1869. 1869.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, TxDOT no longer needs to state land for a highway. The Transportation Commission may declare the property surplus and sell the land. If the property is valued at $10,000 or more, the sale must be approved by the governor. However, if the property value is less than $10,000, TxDOT may sell the property without governor's approval. Senate Bill 1869 raises the cap to allow TxDOT to sell property valued at $100,000 without the governor's approval. Members, 100,000 don't buy much anymore in the state with respect to dirt. This is just to catch up with inflation for over 20 years, which has been at the $10,000 cap. So that's what it allows TxDOT to do.
Are there any questions of the author of the bill? Hearing done, public testimony is open. We have one card, one resource witness, Lance Simmons, the PE, Texas Department of Transportation. Are there any questions of the resource witness? Is there anyone else who'd like to testify for or against Senate Bill 1869? Hearing none, public testimony is closed. Bill will be left pending. At this time, the chair recognizes Senator Alvarado on Senate Bill 957.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Many of you may recall about a year ago, a sheriff's deputy in Harris County that was killed when he and his wife were leaving a grocery store and came out and interrupted three people, I should say, stealing his catalytic converter from his personal vehicle. He was shot and killed on the scene. Deputy Darren Almendares was a 23-year veteran with the Harris County Sheriff's Office. What we're doing here is designating a portion of U.S. Highway 59 in Harris County between the intersection of Little York Road and its intersection with State Highway Loop 8 as the Deputy Sheriff Darren Almendares Highway.
Are there any questions of the Senate author? Hearing none, public testimony is now open. We have Joe Morris Game Warden Peace Officers Association, who's for the bill, but does not wish to testify. We have Paul Sugg, Harris County Commissioners Court, who is for the bill but does not wish to testify. We have Ray Hunt, who's for the bill, Houston Police Officers Union, does not wish to testify. We have Dallas Reed, Texas Municipal Police Association, is for the bill, does not wish to testify. And we have Noel Johnson, Williamson County Deputies Association, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Does anyone else like to testify for or against Senate Bill 957? Hearing none, public testimony is closed. Senator Alvarado now moves that Senate Bill 957 be reported back to the full Senate with a recommendation that it do pass and be printed. Clerk will call the roll.
Nichols, West.
Aye.
Alvarado.
Aye.
Eckhart.
Aye.
Hancock.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Miles.
Aye.
Parker. Perry.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays.
There being 7 ayes and no nays, Senate Bill 957 will be reported back to the full Senate with a recommendation that do pass and be printed. Senator Alvarado now moves that the bill be referred to local. Is there local non-contested? Is there any objection? Hearing none, so moved. Senator Alvarado, you're now recognized on Senate Bill 1364.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Current regulations for vehicle weight do not account for the extra weight of batteries in electric semi-trucks, resulting in these trucks exceeding the maximum gross weight limit of 80,000 pounds, which includes both the weight of the vehicle and its cargo. As a result, electric trucks have to limit their cargo to comply with weight limit in Texas, which can lead to a reduction of revenue for the carriers operating them. This is because the electric trucks weigh more than the diesel trucks and have to carry fewer goods to avoid exceeding the legal weight limit. In the 85th session, the legislature passed a very similar bill into law, allowing this weight exemption to apply to vehicles fueled primarily by natural gas.
Are there any questions of the Senate author? Public testimony is now open. We have several witnesses that are registered. Only Jennifer Brown Emerson, Port of Houston, is for the bill, does not wish to testify. Susan Shiflett is for the bill, does not wish to testify. We have Rebecca Okuna, Texas Department Director of Government Affairs, is for the bill, does not wish to testify. Fred Shannon, for the bill, Texas Association of Manufacturers, does not wish to testify. Dennis Clarkson, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Dana Moore, Texas Trucking Association, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Karen Stakely, for the bill, does not wish to testify, with Tesla. Taylor Sims, yes, for the bill, does not wish to testify. Cliff Johnson, Public Services, for the bill, does not wish to testify. And we have Philip Bunker, Teamsters Joint Council 58, is against the bill, does not wish to testify. Is there anyone else like to testify for or against Senate Bill 1364?
Chairman, I've got one question.
Okay, public testimony is closed. Senator Hancock.
And Senator Alvarado, I understand the bill because I understand things way more. My question is, why wouldn't we just alter the weights for everyone if it's okay for electric vehicles and natural gas vehicles to run on our highways and our infrastructure at a higher weight? If we were to adjust the weight for everyone, it would allow our businesses to operate more efficiently, to carry more cargo, help out with our freight issue, which is an issue. So it seems like carving out these special exemptions for these two categories, if our roads are capable of handling that extra weight on these two, my preference would be let's just adjust it for all so that our businesses are more efficient, our freight's more efficient, your cost of freight, which means your cost to goods, would drop. So I would prefer, if we're going to make these exceptions, that we don't have an exception just for these two. Let's just
Let's just change if our roads can handle it, then let's let our roads handle it.
Yeah, and I'm open to that because, like I said, in the 85th, we made an exception for the natural gas vehicles, and now we're doing it for electric. So I'm happy to work with you on that. And I believe there's some expert witnesses here, if you need them to testify, that our roads can handle that weight.
That's good across the board.
Yeah.
Okay, Senator Alvarado moves that Senate Bill 1364 be reported back to.
Hold on.
No.
Y'all gonna fix it as you go to the floor, or what?
Let's have a conversation.
You wanna fix it in committee?
Yeah.
Bill will be left pending. All right. Senator Alvarado is now recognized on Senate Bill 1663.
They said they can handle it. Let's just change it.
I'm not for that. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Currently, cities can lower speed limits to 25 miles per hour on city streets if the governing body finds the prima facie speed limit to be unsafe. The current statute also allows for counties to set 20 miles per hour speed limits on roads in unincorporated areas if the governing body finds the current speed limit to be unsafe. This bill allows cities to lower the speed limit to 20 miles per hour on a road that is not part of a state highway system. The bill provides that cities have an option to lower speed limits in residential areas where the current speed limit is unsafe for pedestrians. Furthermore, cities will not have to conduct an engineering study or traffic investigation to lower the speed limit to 20 miles per hour on residential streets. This came to me from several civic clubs in my district. In fact, I was on a Zoom with one of our civic clubs last night who have, they've been experiencing a lot of speeding, and they would like the city to be able to reduce the speed limit to 20 miles per hour. We do have some witnesses that will testify in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Alvarado. Any questions for the author? This time we'll open up public testimony on Senate Bill 1663. We do have several wishing to testify. We have Kathy Sokolic, Jay Crossley, Don Nixon. Don, where are you? Don, come on up. And Rachel Hill. Go ahead.
Hello, Transportation Committee. Thank you for your time. My name is Kathy Sokolic, and I'm the chair of Central Texas Families for Safe Streets, and I'm in favor of this bill. I am part of a really terrible club, families who have been impacted by traffic crashes. In 2016, my 9-year-old nephew Ben was hit by a driver in front of his house, resulting in him being incapacitated, requiring 24-hour care until his body gave out in 2021, and he died at age 14. For 5 years, our family held out hope that he would regain some sort of a regular life. Maybe he'd be able to eat something not through a tube, or maybe he'd be able to communicate what was hurting him that day. Instead, we watched him deteriorate over 5 excruciating years, trying anything modern medicine could throw at him. Through COVID, through ice storms, through power outages, always worrying, always hoping. The speed limit on Bend Street was 30 miles an hour. We live in a planned community aimed at making walking and cycling safe and easy. Folks with disabilities have ramps and crosswalks and stop signs. The speed limit never should have been 30. There's a playground down the street from Ben's house with swings and a field for sports. Kids of all ages run around the area, and parents are terrified for them to cross the street on their own. I want Texas cities to be allowed to set safe residential speed limits and design neighborhood streets where kids can safely live their whole childhoods. I want to be clear that we are focused on 2-lane, undivided, unmarked streets like those in neighborhoods. Have you ever been to a neighborhood association where people are meeting, where people are yelling, asking for speed bumps? I'm sure everyone has. I'm sure a discussion has happened somewhere in every Senate district of the state about lowering neighborhood speed limits in the last year. My neighbors call me terrified that what happened to our family will happen to theirs. These are super fun calls to take. We are frustrated. We want things to change. We want our cities to be able to help us let our kids cross the street, let our cities do what is needed in our neighborhoods. This is why I ask that you support SB 1663 to allow Texas cities to use safe speed limits on little neighborhood streets. Thank you.
Thank you much.
Hello, members of the committee. Thank you for your time and for your efforts to make Texas streets safe. My name is Jay Blazek Crossley. I'm Executive Director of Farm and City, and I am in favor of this bill. This bill does not change the ability of cities to change speed limits on major streets or highways. This bill is not an attempt to make it difficult or uncomfortable to drive a car or truck. This bill is not attempting to limit Texas traffic engineers from fulfilling their roles to design streets and standards that can facilitate our abundant lifestyles without taking human lives on a daily basis. This bill does not impose anything on any city in any of your districts. This bill is a permissive local option bill to allow cities to set speed limits to 20 or 25 miles per hour on two-lane undivided streets in residential areas and urban districts, matching the abilities Texas counties have today to give residents in unincorporated areas safe neighborhood streets. If a city does not believe their residents will be safer with lower speed limits, this bill does not require them to change a single thing or pay any additional expense. In the Texas cities where communities, residents, elected officials, and traffic engineers already believe that all residents deserve safe neighborhood streets with lower speed limits, this bill will make the process efficient for cities to provide consistent safe speed limits on little streets. In other cities that do not want citywide speed limit changes, when yet another neighborhood association contacts their mayor and city council, this bill will give the city the ability to change speed limits in a targeted manner on small little streets as they see fit. Traffic engineers rely upon a concept called design speed when designing all the little details of streets. And all these little details add up to the instructions we feel when we're driving and how fast we think we should drive on that street. Texas traffic engineers now know how to design residential streets so that all of us intuitively drive a little safer, with design speeds set to speeds appropriate for driving past little kids' homes. Unfortunately, many traffic engineers view the speed limit as a lower barrier on how safe they can design our streets.
Thank you.
Please support SB 1663. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Rachel Hale, and I'm here with Texas Eagle Forum. And we oppose this bill simply because it is harmful to families, because it is too broad. I'm normally in favor of local control. However, this gives cities the unilateral power to lower speed limits on highways which are not designated part of the state highway system down to 20 miles per hour. If they feel the speeds are unsafe or unreasonable, it gives them to do this without the authority without an engineering investigation. I do not see where residence district is defined in state statute. Does this mean it's a commercial district that has one residence, a neighborhood with at least 75% single-family homes, or one apartment complex? I feel this initiative is part of Vision Zero, making people so miserable that they switch to mass transit, walking, and biking. I live in rural East Texas. Those are not viable options. Houston Mayor Turner was on the record saying that when buses and trains are going faster than cars and trucks, people will exit cars and trucks and use buses and trains. Free people want the freedom to move around the way they see fit. If it narrowed it in scope, we might support it, but right now it's too broad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Don Dixon. I'm representing myself, and I'm very much opposed to this bill. To me, I have a very bad feeling about this. If a city can lower the speed limits down to 20 miles an hour, and a lot of them are trying to do that, to me that means that they're anti-car, they're anti-movement of the population. It's not about safety, it's about movement. So I think that this bill should not be passed. Leave the speed limits alone. Let the people travel at a safe speed. 20 miles an hour, I don't know how people drive down that low. It's so low you can just barely do that. So it's not practical. It's easy to have the police people to give you a ticket because they 5 miles over, they're probably going to get a ticket, which is very unfair. So I'm very much opposed to this bill.
Thank you. Thank you,
Be happy
panel.
to answer the questions.
All right. Thank you, panel. Next, we have Brooke Briscoe, Terry Hall, and Gregory Parker. Go ahead, Terry.
Thank you. All right, again, I'm testifying for Texas Turf, Texans for Toll-Free Highways, and Grassroots America. Obviously, this bill gives cities, in our view, unilateral power to lower speed limits on highways not designated part of the highway system down to 20 miles per hour without the traffic and engineering investigation in any area deemed a residence district, which is not clearly defined in statute. Like Rachel was saying, does that mean 75% are single-family homes? Does it mean one apartment complex on a major boulevard? It can mean anything. So the point of a traffic and engineering study is to require cities to actually examine whether or not that lower speed can actually exacerbate the issues on the roadway, whether the accident rates, fatalities, what have you. Without any examination of safety or engineering on a road, this power can and will be abused against drivers to slow traffic unnecessarily. If it's necessary, why not do the traffic studies to prove it? There's a reason cities want to skip this step. It's unilateral control. In a growing state with increasing congestion, this is not the direction we should take. This bill is also part of the city's push of the California-style traffic calming measures, which have the opposite effect of calming. In fact, they anger drivers and intentionally create congested condition for cars in an effort to force drivers into mass transit, walking, or biking. The stated goal of net zero and vision zero style climate plans adopted by most of our Texas cities and urban areas and some not so urban areas we found are implementing policies to deliberately slow down cars. You heard the quote from Mayor Turner. Austin's climate plan states, "We created the plan through the lens of racial equity." Under strategy number 4, they support locally initiated community events that are car-free and expand their slow streets program. In its bicycle policy, it states these local neighborhood streets are naturally more attractive for cyclists and can be further improved for people through measures such as traffic calming. FHWA defines traffic calming with the primary purpose that traffic calming is to support the livability of residential commercial areas, typically achieved by reducing vehicle speeds. We oppose the bill.
Thank you very much. Next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I am Rick Briscoe. I am testifying against the bill on my own behalf. I am a resident of San Antonio, and as you may know, there are numerous small cities completely surrounded by San Antonio. It's been my experience that some of these cities reduce speed limits for less than noble reasons. They want to keep the outsiders out, even though public funds have been expended on the roads. And there's one city in particular that even bars through traffic on a public street. You know, good luck. Take it to municipal court and fight it. I'll give you a guess what your chances of success are without an appeal. The tragic incident recited by one of the earlier witnesses raises the question of, was speed even a factor, or was the driver simply not paying attention? And the difference between 20 and 25 miles per hour is, okay, you can sit there and calculate the energy, but in practical terms, there's not that much difference. There really isn't. And I say this as a former cyclist. When I was younger, I rode a bicycle in Austin a good bit. And we actually had to fight for a bill in the legislature that cyclists had a legal right to be on the street, because people who'd run over a cyclist would say, oh, you didn't have any right to be there. So that's my perspective, and I urge you to vote the bill down. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Gregory Porter. I'm here representing myself and an organization I founded called Texas for Liberty, and I'll be short. It's already been said. I mean, I think the quote from the mayor says it a lot. I'm very pro-environment, and I understand the gravity of traffic. I know MOPAC seems like it's 20 miles an hour anyway, a lot of times when we're driving here to the Capitol, but just giving unlicensed and certainly a generalized law that allows cities to do this, it's pretty obvious that, from the quote from Mayor Turner in Houston, that there is a genuine intent to unnaturally and artificially reduce speeds to push people to public transport. I believe in public transportation, but doing something like this, I can imagine in a city like Austin where we're already struggling to get across town for political or other reasons, is just simply unnecessary. And I think that we need not to empower people at the city level to be able to make these types of decisions that are ultimately going to have a negative effect on traffic. Thank you.
So one question to anybody on the panel. So my neighborhood's already at 20 for the safety, because a lot of walking trails, golf carts, street legal, we've done that. That
remember that
max out
last
at 20. So we're already there, so I didn't know we needed this. But then when there was construction on the highway near our business, and we had a lot of gravel haulers cutting through our industrial park because they found it was faster than, say, on the highway, the city actually lowered where our business is located to 20. So so when we're talking liberty, because, I mean, frankly, I was complaining because I was concerned about the welfare of my employees with these gravel, coming to work and gravel haulers cutting through, even at 30 miles an hour, through industrial area where you're not expecting them, was a little fast. I mean, wouldn't liberty allow those of us living in those areas or working in those areas to request the city drop those to 20 rather than being restricted to 25? Isn't that what liberty's about?
Oh, I totally agree. If there are specifically defined situations that are appropriate that are here, that's one thing. But a general opportunity for that to happen is very challenging.
And neither one of these would warrant a traffic study. It's not a big enough neighborhood. The industrial park's not a big industrial park. So, I mean, it wouldn't warrant that. They just had enough complaints from people with warehouses in the industrial area and residents that they took it to 20, which I drive to work and I drive when I go home. I mean, so, I mean, that's doesn't need to be narrowed.
No, I understand your point, and I know that, trust me, if this was anything but about residential streets, I would have a different opinion. But highway is the generic term for public right-of-way dedicated to transportation throughout the code. Nothing in this bill allows in any way for cities or any other entity, actually, counties already can lower it to 20, to alter speed limits on controlled access freeways.
We'll take
I
a
would
look
just-
at the language. We'll take a look at the
Sure.
language and see. All right, thank you very
And
much.
I would just say that the bill doesn't
Hold on, Terry.
define it, sorry.
Wait. Any other questions?
I have a question
Senator Eckhart.
for the author.
Sure.
The cities can already lower the speed limit with a traffic study, correct?
To 25.
To 25. So although this bill does allow them to reduce it to 20, the effect of this bill is only in areas of residential use.
Yes.
I'm thinking of my own neighborhood street where there's a park. People park on both sides of the street. The street is narrow. To do a traffic study would be an unnecessary expense because it's visibly, obviously, an area meriting a lower speed limit.
That's right.
So all this does is ratchet it down 5 more miles per hour and exonerate the city from the expense of a traffic study in the visibly obvious area of residential use.
That's correct. Thank you for that's a really good example.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, members? Anybody else wish to testify on for or against Senate Bill 1663? Hearing none, public testimony is now closed. We do have a couple of written testimonies that were turned in, and then we have several registered only on the bill, or registered on the bill, one way or the other.
They'll be entered into the record, and we'll leave that bill pending.
Yeah, we'll enter that into the record. At this time, Senate Bill 1663 will be left pending.
That's it.
Right.
I want to ask for that.
Yes, thank you, members. That is our last bill. Are there any other motions in writing that need to be turned in? Okay, if not, with unanimous consent, at this time, being no further business, Senate Committee on Transportation will be stand in recess, subject to the call of the chair.